What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 26 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean. This is a very interesting episode because last night, as most people were probably getting ready for bed, I know I was getting ready for bed, Shams tweeted that Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and Max Christie, and I thought it was a hacked account, a case of this is not real. My IRL friend actually texted me a screenshot and said, realest trade of all time. And it was all jokes, you know? And then Sean texted me and was like, hey, I think this is real. And I was like, no, I'll believe it when I see Shams post a video of him saying it. And then it was on SportsCenter. And then all the reporters were saying, can confirm this is real. A day later, I still don't feel like it's real. But Sean very much feels like it's real as a Lakers fan who has been covering the trade nonstop for the last day now. So, Sean, initial takeaways, man. How are you feeling?
I've never been more convinced in my entire life that a person got hacked. And what made it so funny is, like, he took what felt like forever to confirm it. Like, it was definitely a few minutes that we had to wait for some confirmation where I would have thought it would have been, all right, post and then immediate details or whatever. So, like, you know, just go bang, bang. But the fact that we had to, like, sit and wait for all but 3 minutes, God forbid we have to wait for 180 seconds. It felt like it was fake. The initial reaction was a lot of confusion and shock on both sides. Curious what your thoughts are from Dallas's perspective. But, I mean, at the end of the day, from Lakers lens, you got Luka, and I don't care. You got Luka Doncic. Without mortgaging your future. You might have, I would say you probably gave up some value in the current day simply because of your playoff defense with Anthony Davis. You know, you give up Max too, which is, I'm obviously a Max homer. Happy to watch Max in Dallas. But like long term, you got, the way I described it was you just got the guy for your next 10 years instead of your next, 10 months. And, Lakers make a move by Thursday. Another move, they still kept their 2031 first-round pick. They still have other tradable guys. Who knows? They could still be a team that could make some noise. I mean, for crying out loud, you have LeBron James, Luka Doncic. You have arguably a greater puncher's chance, if that makes sense. And I think it's more likely that you do miraculously pull off a title win, but you have a bigger puncher's chance this season because you have LeBron and Luka together.
Yeah, so how do you feel about that fit, specifically? Like LeBron and Luka, how do you think they play off of each other?
Defensively, I think it's terrible. I'm not excited to watch the Lakers play defense now. Offensively, I think the concerns are kind of overstated, actually.
Okay.
You're putting, first off, it's arguably the two most precise and surgical playmakers the game has seen in the past decade, maybe. Two, you would describe them as supercomputers. Yeah, you have two of them, and one of them is 40 and the other one's 25, but like similar build in some ways to the 40-year-old. I think one of the reasons why I think the fit concerns are overstated offensively is Bron's just turned into an elite off-ball player. Over the past few years, he's always been an elite cutter. Don't let stupid NBA Twitter tell you otherwise. He's always been an elite cutter. But like the past few years specifically, he's been an elite spot-up three-point shooter. Shooting 40% from three on spot-up attempts for the past 2 seasons. And I think they'll just be able to play well off of each other. I think we'll see some stuff like they honestly did in Dallas a little bit where you have them both slot on the wings and you'll just have them play off of each other to a certain extent where it's Bron driving to his right and Luka's in that opposite wing spot. Help off if you want to, and that's Luka getting to play off the catch and make a second side decision. And vice versa. So I think some of the fit stuff is overstated. I don't think it'll be pretty right off the rip, but overall, I think some of the fit stuff is a little overrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you in terms of the dynamic between the two playing off of each other. I just think I'm a little bit worried about the fact that I don't know how much both can be maximized if you don't have a big in the middle to like connect things. And I feel like you kind of need that like screen and roll guy. You need that interior presence to kind of make those guys work. Like the way Kyrie and Luka worked off of each other was in part so effective because they had a constant lob threat on the court at all times, and Gafford and Lively who could do things as like in the short roll and things of that nature. I think the Lakers right now this might be a hot take, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really gotten a temperature check on this, but like, I feel like the Lakers in the short term, just this season, got like considerably worse. Is that a hot take? Like, I feel like it's just because you lost your best point of attack defender and your entire defense pretty much, and then replaced it with a guy who's at worst a below average defender, or at best a below average defender. So for me, it's just like you go into the playoffs, and this is probably by far the worst defense in the playoffs of the 16 teams that would make the playoffs. Like, you're starting your first four guys in the starting lineup are Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Rui, and then your five is Jackson Hayes. Is the best
DFS?
Is it's a DFS? You would hope it's DFS, but like, okay, so shout out DFS and Vando. I don't want to take anything away from those guys. Those aren't the type of guys that if Rudy Gobert couldn't carry a defense in the playoffs, neither can Vando and Dorian Finney-Smith. And it's like there's a lot of minutes where the best defender on the floor is LeBron. And it's like, yeah. And so, in terms of like short-term playoff implications, the only way I see them being competitive is if they go and get like a serious big. I've heard some Rob Will rumbles. Maybe now it's an even bigger push to get Walker Kessler. I'm really not sure. I don't know what to expect because this move was so out of left field. I still haven't been able to wrap my head around all of the possibilities moving on from this. But yeah, my big takeaway is, this is Kareem in 76 or whatever it was, Shaq in 96. It's like, we don't need to have it figured out. When Shaq came into the league, he was an immediate MVP level player, and by year 5, he was a Laker. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar already was like a 3-time MVP or whatever. I don't even know what he was. He was already an NBA champion and a finals MVP, got traded to the Lakers, and the Lakers sucked. They had a bunch of crackheads, but it took like 4 years, and then they drafted Magic Johnson, and then it was a dynasty. Same thing with Shaq and Kobe. They drafted Kobe, they signed Shaq, and it was like, oh, that's kind of scary. Yeah, that's what this is. It's like you just got your guy, and Luka's game, weight and conditioning concerns aside, because I don't really know what's going on with that. His game should age really well. Like the way he plays, it should age. Like he's the type of player that can be high impact at 36, 37. So it's really interesting, and it's like, where do you go from here? So let's do a little role play. If you were in the Lakers GM office right now, what would be your next move?
My next move would be, I would go back and kind of reevaluate the big market. But one guy that I probably wouldn't have included in the trade offers, I mean, literally 30 hours ago, that I am definitely throwing in there now. I'm looking to get off of Austin Reeves. In pursuit of going after another big or going after like legit rotation pieces that can help this team out for the Luka era, and then also like just still trying to maximize this season. And look, I love Austin. I think Austin's a really good player. I think he's on one of the better contracts in the league compared to what their actually what the performance level is. But you just don't need him anymore. And there's a lot of like overlapping. Now he's a good off-ball player, but there's just too much overlapping with him, Bron, and Luka, and none of them are good defenders either. None of them are even plus defenders. Austin's fine. Like, you squint and you see it. He tries at the very least. I'll give him that. Bronze is more of an effort thing consistently, similarly to Luka. Although Luka's also just like not great defensively in general. But you can present Austin to the league now and go, look, hey, like this really good player, really good contract, and I think Austin probably has the most value internally right now. Austin, maybe a Don Connect still. I don't know how much value that 2031 first has at this point, because you have Luka Doncic now. Luka's, assuming that you don't mess this up, it'll be a historic failure messing this up. But Luka's going to be here in his age 31 season, so I have no reason to believe I'm an outsider to think that you plan on being bad then.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I would reevaluate the big market, and for certain guys, I would also look. Hey, look, Austin's available, or also like trying to replace the Max Christie role if possible, which is funny because you traded both of those guys to fill both those roles in AD and Max, but that would kind of be where I'm addressing. I'm just trying to see if I can fill one of those two voids if possible.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel as well. And I'm like thinking about potential center fits, and my mind goes, I don't know how you feel about this, but like I'm almost thinking, okay, what big can I get that's going to be a great pairing with Luka 4 years from now? Because it's like I think they could get a big and could try to compete right now, but it's like bigs sometimes some of them age really well, but sometimes it's like a really fast fall off, and you don't want to like get rid of an asset like Reeves for a 29, 30-year-old center, and then it's like 2 years down the line all of a sudden now you have to find another one, and it just becomes tough. So I want someone who kind of matches the Luka timeline, which could go very well go into like 2033. So the first guy that came to mind for me, because I was just like doing some fun scenarios, was like a LeBron for Jared Allen trade, which obviously isn't going to happen. Get LeBron back in Cleveland and then get like Jared Allen and Luka. That's the ideal type of big you want next to Luka. Like that's a great fit. But it's like when I look around the league, I'm almost thinking, do the Lakers wait for someone to blow up their team and then go kind of snatch a big? Like, if the Cavs blow it up, do you try and get Mobley or Allen? If the 76ers finally give up, do you just take a chance on Embiid? Like, I don't really know. That'd be crazy. if Embiid was even a fraction of what he was, you get Luka and Embiid.
Yeah.
But, like, if the Clippers blow it up, do you go for Zubats? Do you wait for Hartenstein's contract to be up and go for him? I don't really know. There's so many. Like, dude, Şengün is 22 years old. Who knows what the Rockets are going to do? Like, he's clearly the Rockets' cornerstone, but, like, who knows what they do with, like, the Amen Thompson ascension. There's so many good bigs in the league, and they're all so young. Bam is still 27. Zach Edey's 22. It's like, I'm looking down, I'm just going down the estimated plus-minus leaderboard, and there's all these young bigs who are just solid. Just solid. Jalen Duren, 21. Khalil Ware, 20. Like, there's options. And I think
Khalil Ware. Oh my god.
Yeah, Khalil Ware. Luka and Khalil Ware would be absolutely absurd. But yeah, that's just kind of where my head's at. My head's at like
I'm gonna throw a name out at you.
Go ahead.
I'm curious. Outsider point of view, Nick Claxton.
I like Nick Claxton. It's tough for me to say because I think Nick Claxton has clearly regressed since 2023. Or was it 2022? I think it was 2023 when he was in the Defensive Player of the Year race.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that regression is, okay, I went from a team that was trying to compete to now I'm on a team that's trying to tank. I don't really know because, like, Luka could very much get the best out of Claxton. So that's a good name because Claxton's a really, really good defender, really versatile defender, the type of guy you want next to Luka. Yeah, that's tough. But I think Luka's the type of guy also who elevates bigs at a very high level. So, like, he can squeeze value. Like, dude, this guy had Mavs fans calling Derek Lively the next Giannis, man. Like, come on. This guy elevates bigs. Honestly,
He made the White Powell look all right.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame that we didn't get to see Luka and AD because that's like, that would have been absolutely absurd. But, yeah, that's where my head's at. My head's at, like, you need to find your long-term running partner with Luka. And honestly, like, I obviously this kind of is different from a Laker fan perspective, but the way I kind of feel about it is, like, I don't mind if you just chalk this season. Like, honestly, if you just chalk the season and just try and, like, you make the playoffs or your first-round exit, whatever the kid, like, not chalk like tank, but where it's like, we're going to try and compete, but we know we're really not going to get to that next hump. I think it'd just be a fond memory to have, like, 10 years down the line and look back and be like, remember when Luka and LeBron, like, were a thing for, like, that brief stretch? Like, that was freaking awesome. And then, seriously, like, maybe even wait till the offseason to seriously look at how you're going to build around Luka over the next decade.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think the thing with Claxton, and that was just a name that I've heard tossed out like amongst Laker fans or whatever. I never really put too much thought into it. The thing that would kind of sway me is I like your point about last year 2023 was really, really good, right? Or yeah, 2023, my bad. He's a really, really good defender, versatile defender. I think the short roll, like playmaking stuff, is what would kind of concern me about getting a Claxton. But, like, I'm pretty sure he has a regressing contract, too. I could be making that up. Let me see. Spot Track is your friend.
I mean, Miles Turner. You've been talking about Miles Turner. That's another guy I'd love to see with Luka.
Yeah. Miles Turner would be fantastic. It does feel like, unless again the Lakers go to unless they go to the Pacers and offer Austin Reeves, it does feel like Miles Turner is off the table, unfortunately.
It is, but yeah. Also, though, like the Pacers don't really probably wouldn't even want Reeves. Like the way they already have a surplus of a bunch of guards. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like I just Miles Turner's definitely not on the table. At least not right now.
the classic contract is pretty nice. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, how would you feel about DeAndre Ayton? Because DeAndre Ayton is like I feel like he gets clowned, but he's such a ridiculously talented player still. Like all motor concerns and stuff aside, like the dude is really skilled. And it's like maybe he just needs that right, like, dude, get him in the LA spotlight, get him playing off of Luka. Like, am I crazy for thinking Ayton could get back to like that 2022 level, 2021 level where he was like legitimately just an awesome playoff big?
Laker fans are gonna go from Anthony Davis to DeAndre Ayton and lose their shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I quit. What are you giving up for DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just like our off season, like wait for his contract to expire and you throw money at him. I don't really know. I haven't really worked out scenarios in my head. It's more so just like I'm just thinking of players around the league where it's like, yeah, I could see that fit.
Yeah,
And honestly, it's kind of everyone in the league when it comes to Luka. It's like, yeah, you can make that work.
You're athletic and can you finish at the rim?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Everything else is like honestly, but okay, yeah, I said short roll stuff can kind of concern me with Claxton, but like that everything else is just like it's a luxury. Like,
And Luka's the type of guy that doesn't even need to lean on the short roll that much because he's such an absurd skip passer.
yeah,
Like,
that's just the game breaker. It just makes it unfair.
yeah.
I mean, DeAndre checks out like analytically this season.
Dude, he's on a crazy run right now. He's been dropping like the most casual 20 and 10s over the last like week. He's been hooping. And the Blazers are on a winning
Yeah,
streak.
he did,
Respect dominating, man.
Hold on.
Respect I used to be so high on Ayton back in those playoff runs, 2021 and 2022. I thought he was so good.
Respect the domination.
Shot like 75% on hook shots one year. Like, come on, bro.
Was that the title year or not the title year? The
I think it was the year
appearance?
after. Because I think the year after was his best year, the 2022 season. And wasn't that the contract year? So it kind of makes sense. I feel like it was. I might be wrong. But, dude, like, yeah, I don't know. Kind of just, like, going off the rails here, just thinking about players that I think could fit with Luka. But, yeah, my big takeaway from the trade, not to just harp on this for too long, my big takeaway on the Lakers side is just I'm not really worried about the short term. The Lakers were already just trying to scrape together a puncher's chance at the title with the AD and Christie pairing, and maybe they had a better chance then, but it was still minuscule. Like maybe they went from like 2% to 1.7% or something like that. It was still like you need a crazy deadline move to get over that hump. And so for me, it's like, look, you just got bailed out, essentially. Like, you no longer have to make a tough decision about where to go in your future. You've got a 25-year-old who's coming off of 5 straight All-NBA first teams, undoubtedly a top 4 to 5 player on the planet. Yeah, it's just, that's what it is. It's, you figure out the rest. When that gets presented to you, you have to do it. You just have to do it. And you figure out the rest.
Yeah, that's basically how I look at it. Like, it's tough. I love AD. I'm wearing the AD mama jersey. Like, love AD, but 25-year-old Luka Doncic, who's a perennial MVP candidate. Like,
and maybe it'd be different if this was a 25-year-old Anthony Davis, because there was a time where Anthony Davis was supposed to be like the best player in the world one day.
Yeah.
Like he was on that trajectory, even when he was like 20, like that 2015. Was that his third season? Absolutely absurd. Maybe it was his sophomore season. Whatever season 2015 was when he made the playoffs for the first time against the Warriors, dude was ridiculous. As like, yeah, one of the best young players I've ever seen. But yeah, this is a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, I believe.
Yeah,
and he's not getting any better at this point. It's just he is what he is. We've gotten a big enough sample size to know what he is. So I guess, yeah, we can just move on. My question for you is, outside of the fact that the Mavs made the trade, like let's ignore that part of it because it'll never be explainable.
We gotta ignore that.
We have to. We could talk for 2 hours on theories, but like, ignore the fact that they made the trade. Just assume the world reset and the Mavs spawned with this current roster. How are you feeling about the Mavs, like their direction?
I think you're putting a lot of trust in Kyrie and AD. Like, trust that I'm not even sure I would give, personally. I do think it's, to your point that you made on Twitter, they have a scary playoff defense.
Yeah.
Like, you put, in my opinion, the best playoff half-court defender. I love how every time the conversation comes about AD's defense, I change the criteria. First, it was best defensive player on the planet, then it was best half-court defensive player. Now, it's best playoff half-court defensive player on the planet, and Anthony Davis. And you just give him, for the first time in 5 years, the versatility to kind of play the 4, play the 5 based on the matchup. Like, they could go lineups with him and PJ together and then, wing Kyrie. Or him and Gafford. Or, hell, him, Gafford, and PJ, and then go guard. The lineup versatility is easily the most appealing and most attractive part of this deal for Dallas. And for that, they'll be a tough out regardless, if they're able to make the playoffs. I think there will be certain matchups in a playoff setting, though, that can be really, really concerning for them offensively. And obviously the first two are OKC and Houston, obviously. OKC has to be the happiest team on earth right now. They couldn't beat Dallas and Luka apparently. Now you don't have to worry about Luka in a 7-game setting, although now we have to worry about Kyrie and AD. So that'll be fun to figure out.
My takeaway on the OKC thing is I've been trying to justify in my head why the Mavs think this makes them better short term, because that's the only way you even make this move. You don't make this move with long-term intentions. It's clearly just like, we need to win now. And so I've been trying to think of justifying it in my head where it's like, okay, this is the line of thinking they had. I almost wonder if they think they can beat, in my opinion, there are 4 teams every contender has in mind. It's the Nuggets, the Cavs, the Mavericks, and Mavericks. Nuggets, Cavs, Thunder, Celtics. Those are the 4 teams everyone has in mind, in my opinion, when they're putting together their teams right now. I almost wonder if they said, screw everyone else, we're going to go with the lineup that gives us the best chance against these 4 teams, just mathematically speaking. I think Boston's the first one that comes to mind, because I think if they ran into Boston in the finals with the team that they had with Luka, the exact same thing would have happened. They made no change that is like, okay, now Boston can't do the defensive strategy that completely stalled our offense last time. It was the exact same thing. Tatum would have guarded the 5. They would have switched everything. Kyrie and Luka would have had to just outshoot 5 players, and it wouldn't have happened. It would have been the same thing. So my line of thinking there is, with AD and Gafford on the court together, you can't do that. AD will post you into oblivion. You cannot do that. That's kind of where I was at initially. And then obviously you have so much more defensive versatility and ground coverage against Boston's 5 out. And then more lineup versatility where you can go small with AD at the 5 and things like that. OKC, I saw a tweet about this from an OKC fan talking about that his theory is that the Mavs, in those 2 games they played without Luka against the Thunder, realized that they think they can beat the Thunder without Luka, and decided to fully lean into the size and rebounding advantage. Because if there's one weakness you can point to with OKC, it's that their size and rebounding can get a little bit flaky at times, even with Ihart and Chet. And so it's like, okay, now we're going to overwhelm you. If you thought PJ Washington was tough to stop in the post as the 4, imagine him as the 3. What are the Thunder supposed to do against that? Now you have PJ, AD, and Gafford. By the way, Gafford's averaging 5 offensive rebounds per 75 this season.
Insane.
AD's probably at 3.5. This team's going to rival Houston in terms of second chance opportunities while still having shooting. They still have Kyrie, Clay, Grimes. So it's
Respect Max Christie.
Max Christie as well. Yeah, I forgot he existed. So yeah, so with Celtics and Thunder in mind, I think they just view those as better matchups. Then you have Denver. Before you couldn't do the double big thing against Denver like Minnesota did. Now you can. That's like maybe they have Jokic in mind, and it's like we're gonna put Gafford on Jokic, have AD roam. And then Cleveland, I think is just obvious double bigs. It's like now we have double bigs to match you. I think they're gonna start PJ, AD, and Gafford together. And I think they'll probably close with AD at the 5. Maybe it depends on the matchup.
Which is fine.
On the matchup.
Which is fine. Like I think AD is perfectly fine closing at the 5. It was, dog, you want me to guard Jokic for 45 minutes?
Right.
Hell no.
So my takeaway is that I think they're going to kind of utilize the bigs both offensively and defensively, and then also use the same rotation patterns as Mobley and Allen. I think they're just going to shadow what the Cavs are doing. I think Kyrie and Gafford are always going to be on the court together. Like, I don't think Gafford's going to play a single minute without Kyrie, and it's because that two-man game has shown to be very, very effective. AD's going to run with the bench unit, and that's when they're going to start doing more post stuff. They're going to start dumping it into AD in the post, and I think you're going to get, like, split actions with Klay Thompson out of AD post-ups. Like, dude, I don't think they necessarily got better. They did get more versatile, and the playmaking and shot creation. Yeah, the playmaking and shot creation does really concern me. It does. But in terms of just like, I still feel like they're a really weird matchup for every top contender. Like they're tough. I don't view them as like an inner circle team, but I don't feel much differently about their contention chances as I did a week ago. Like I still think they're a top 3 team in the West. Might be crazy. I might be crazy, but like I'm looking at the other top teams. I think OKC's 1. I think Denver's 2. And then it's like I feel better about Dallas over Minnesota. I feel good about Dallas over Memphis. I feel good about Dallas over Houston. What other team is there? I still feel good about Dallas.
I think the point for Dallas is just the versatility, honestly.
Yeah.
And the way the versatility, like you said, they're going to lean into the double big stuff. They're going to lean into being the defensive. They're honestly leaning into just we're going to play defense. We're going to be gritty offensively, and we're Kyrie and AD are going to be enough essentially.
Yeah.
And then I don't even think I'm disagreeing with you. I think I recognize how good and how challenging they're going to be defensively. I think I'm just saying like, in certain matchups, like their offense could concern me. Like I'm not gonna lie. I think I agree with all those teams you said, like a Houston, a Memphis, in terms of trust. You know, there's a certain team that you did not mention that they had a specific player come back recently. And that specific player is looking really, really good.
Oh
recently.
my God! Yeah, no, the Clippers are. I don't know how I missed them. Clippers are easily. I'd probably have Clippers 2 over Denver, honestly. So
okay.
yeah, okay. I forgot they existed. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was like, player came back. Who are you talking about? Yeah, no, Clippers and the Clippers. Although I will say in a Mavericks Clippers series, Zubats can't guard both bigs. Who the heck?
Sure.
Derrick Jones Jr. is the 4? Who's he guarding? Gafford? And then Kawhi on PJ? Like, dude, they're gonna overwhelm teams with so much size that I almost wonder if the spacing and playmaking is just like not even a necessity anymore. And we'll just have to wait and see what actually ends up happening. But it's like, okay, so let me ask you this: who's your 5th starter if you're the Mavs coach? If you're starting the PJ AD Gafford front court, who's your 2?
Is it still Klay?
So I think it's gonna be Klay initially, but my takeaway is with those 4, you desperately need another perimeter ball handler. Like that's what the lineup lacks.
Dinwiddie?
So I came up with 3 choices. It was Dinwiddie, Hardy, or Grimes. Those are the 3.
Yeah.
And I think Dinwiddie's clearly
the second name I thought about.
Yeah, Dinwiddie's clearly the best playmaker of that group. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's him that gets like the nod because he's just the guy that can kind of unlock more passing. But if it were me, I'd probably try Grimes first because I think Grimes, of those 3, is clearly the best 3-point shooter. I think he's clearly the most explosive slasher. And I also think he holds up the best defensively of the 3. So I'm almost like, if I need if I need a little bit more offensive juice, I think Grimes is where I'm leaning. And then if it's like, if I want to go crazy and just fully lean into the defense, let's go Christie. And it's like Christie, PJ, AD, and Gafford is just, I don't know how you score on that. I think the Mavs are going to switch everything except for Gafford. I think they're going to switch 1 through 4 and try to keep, you know what the defense reminds me of? I talked about this in my video. Shout out, if you're listening to the podcast, go watch the video after this. I've made a Mavs video.
I'm watching the video after this, so
appreciate it.
You guys go watch it.
I think their defense is very comparable to the 2022 Celtics in terms of Rob Will is Gafford. Rob Will is Gafford. We're going to keep you on the baseline because I would say Gafford, just as a roamer and free safety, is probably a top 10 shot blocker on the planet right now. But Gafford isn't very good at defending pick and roll. He's kind of weak in drop. He can't really switch or hedge. So it's like, okay, if we can pre-switch everything, keep Gafford on the baseline. He's our Rob Will. And then it's like, oh, instead of Horford, we have Anthony Davis, who can drop, switch, hedge,
blitz,
trap. Yeah, like, dude. And then it's like, okay, PJ Washington's also a very good rim protector who can play at the point of attack.
Think about this lineup defensively. This is a lineup that just like spawned in my head just now. Kyrie Irving, who, if he's your weakest defender, which he will be in this lineup, you feel effing fantastic.
Yeah.
Max Christie. This is not a starting five. This should just be a hypothetical lineup that they could legitimately run out. Kyrie, Max Christie, Najee Marshall, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's absurd. You go Najee on Shea, probably. PJ on J-Dub.
Yeah, PJ on J-Dub.
Christie on Isaiah Joe or whoever it is, Case.
It doesn't even
Dort.
matter at that point.
Yeah, and then you go Kyrie. Kyrie would probably be on like Dort, like whoever's going to spot up. And then you have AD on Chet. And then it's like, oh, they're bringing in iHeart. Let's bring in Gafford. And then now we have Gafford on Chet. Gafford on Chet, and then we have AD on iHeart, and you just switch all the iHeart actions because he can't punish mismatches in the post. Like, dude, that defense is going to be terrifying. That defense is going to be crazy.
That series defense is going to be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so
I want Dallas to make the playoffs now for sure, just so I can like see how they're going to like scheme up stuff defensively against another team.
And Jason
offense.
Kidd's, we haven't even mentioned Jason Kidd's
a great defensive coach.
Elite defensive coach. So, yeah, silver lining, Mavs fans, if you're listening to this. No, neither of us agreed that this trade should have been made from the Mavs perspective because it just didn't make any sense and it was completely out of left field. Unless there was some information we don't know about, like Luka wasn't going to re-sign. But then Nico Harrison keeps confirming, like, no, he was going to re-sign. We just didn't want him anymore because he's overweight. Whatever
he's
happened
fat and
there,
he's a loser.
Yeah, whatever happened there doesn't make sense. All we're saying, and maybe I'm a little bit higher than Sean, but he's kind of with me. The Mavs are still very competitive and a very fun team. So, silver lining, enjoy some good hoops and some potentially really interesting defensive playoff hoops. And ride the Kyrie Irving creativity wave to whatever happens offensively. It's like, I still think the Mavs are a dark horse contender. I think if I was ranking teams right now, temperature check, no order. I think there's the big three still. Boston, OKC, and Cleveland. I would take Denver and LA over Dallas. LA Clippers, that is, not the Lakers. And then I think you get into the mix of Mavs or Knicks. And I feel like I'd still take the Mavs over the Knicks. I don't know.
Knicks aren't serious yet.
Knicks don't really beat good teams.
Jackson Hayes and Dorian Finney-Smith, like, won that game for the Lakers.
Yeah, the thing about the Knicks just haven't beat any serious teams, so it's hard for me to buy in. They kind of they do their job against the worst teams, but against the like really really heavy hitters, they just kind of their defense is just kind of questionable. Yeah, I don't know, but then also like the Grizzlies are in that mix, Timberwolves somewhere in there. I still, you would probably have the Lakers somewhere closer. I'm kind of out on the Lakers in terms of like serious competitiveness this season, but like I said, like in terms of the move, A+ for the Lakers. You just got your freaking franchise cornerstone. Like Luka, is this a hot take to say that Luka on the Lakers might become the most popular player ever because of like all of the overseas motion he already has?
And now you get to play in LA.
Like, dude, he might become like the next like Michael Jordan, LeBron James type of popular player.
Like, I don't know.
sorry to cut you off, but this saves the whole face of the league thing. It's so obviously Luka now.
Oh yeah.
So
thank you, Luka. Thank you, Rob Pelinka, for pulling the trigger. You saved Adam Silver.
yeah,
I think also he's gonna be the most controversial player now too.
yeah.
It's gonna be insane. Because I already thought the Luka discourse is kind of annoying on both sides.
Yeah.
The revisionist history, Luka wasn't dropping 70 on people last season is absurd. So on the stream last night, I said it's still weird that Luka's a Laker. I said that he was still probably the third best player on the planet, and I got so much, not so much heat, but I got decent levels of heat from the off people that didn't like this trade for the Lakers. I got to videos and I was like, okay, guys, let's stop smoking. He's at worst, okay, Shai Gilgeous, my bad. At worst, he's 4. And I was
Right.
well, nah, man, Wemby's better, Kevin Durant's better. Oh, all right, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Luka. I think if I was making a list right now, I'd probably have to give Shai the benefit of the doubt and put Luka 4th. But
okay, that's
third,
fine.
4th, 2nd, damn near 1st last year. Do what you want with Luka. And I think also the revisionist history on Luka. The funniest part of that is the way he was perfectly fine defensively through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs.
Yes.
And then the one team that could make him look the way he did took advantage of it. And then it's now ESPN is putting on blow-by stats that we've never even seen before. Still don't even know the source of. And it's
Those blow-by stats
and then all
so
of a sudden,
nasty.
Luka's the worst defender in NBA history. That was a legitimate talking point. And it's okay, what are we doing? And now you got Nico Harrison saying defense wins championships. So go put defensive players around your top 10 offensive player of all time. I still can't wrap my head around why the Mavs did it. But all we have now is moving forward. Lakers got their franchise cornerstone. Mavs are still a really interesting team and they might not be done. I didn't even throw that part out. If they need a shot creator, Sexton's still out there. If they want to get more size and shooting, Cam Johnson is still available, and you have picks. You have picks. So yeah, man, I would be surprised if the Mavs are done making moves, and I think they got a really fun team. Do you have any other takeaways?
Somebody take and destroy all microphones from Nico Harrison's vicinity.
That's a good way to end it off. This was probably our shortest episode, but we just had to get this off our chest because absolutely absurd. I still can't wrap my head around it. Easily the most more shocking. I was more shocked with this trade than when KD went to the Warriors. That's the level of shock we're talking about. It was absurd. But we really appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to drop in the comments if you have any other thoughts that we might have missed. Make sure you follow us on social media. My stuff is all at Tyler Britton _ or Hoop Venue. If you search Hoop Venue on a platform, you will find something. Sean's Instagram is Sean _ Davis 23. His Twitter is Sean _ DAVI. His YouTube channels are the Los Angeles Lakers Network and the Sports Headline Show. If you're watching on YouTube, you will find all of those links in the description. Easy access. Go check out our other content. But without further ado, man, we really appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you guys with a longer episode next time in episode number 27.